The video today is I'd like to introduce a young man who we've become quite good friends, who I'm doing some work with him, Danny Womersley. Now, Daniel comes from Leeds and practices at the Northern Snooker Centre in Leeds, which is a hotbed for a lot of good amateurs and indeed one or two professionals. He regularly gets a top-up position because of his ranking on the Q Tour or the Q School. He gets a top-up position into some of the main tour events. We've had a couple of sessions together now, and it's my job to try and rectify this slight, and I emphasise slight, inconsistency that he has in his game. He knows that he's a good player. He knows that he's not quite good enough, and he wants to know why he's not quite good enough. And we've determined in those couple of sessions that we've had that there is a slight flaw in his cueing. No need to go into big detail about that at this moment in time, but it's my job to work with Daniel, right, and to find, to get him to recognise that there is a flaw, what that flaw is, and then to give him some practices where he can put that flaw correct, or at the very, very least improve it to the point where it's negligible and doesn't affect his game. So without any further ado, what I'm going to do is ask Daniel to just pot a few balls, get his arm going, and we'll have a look at what's happening. Okay, Daniel, if you don't mind?
Yeah, no problem.
Daniel has granted us permission to film him and watch him practice. And this is sort of a line-up practice that he'll do just to get his arm going and get in the mood for more serious practice. Now, the first thing I noticed about Daniel, right, was his pre-shot routine. I love it. The way he stands away from the shot, walks in, gets into position, and that routine with that cue is nice and parallel with the table. There's a method to it. And I'm looking at it and saying, right, initially I can't see anything wrong with his game at all. And then you get to start to play with a fella, or with your pupil, and you start to notice little minor things that may be happening and causing the slight degree of inconsistency that Daniel had. Hopefully now we've gone some way to get rid of that inconsistency, but it's still a lot more hard work for him to do. Right, if I can stop you there now, Daniel, we'll just go on to the baulk line, and I want to mention a few points here about Daniel's technique, if I may. So we'll just go on the baulk line. Now, one of the things that you'll straight away notice that Daniel's right arm leans over towards his left shoulder. If you're coming on to the baulk line, Daniel. Now there, what we have done on that position is that when we first met, Daniel's arm was over here, okay? Progressively, we have brought it over here, and that's been done by muscle action here. Now, it's still slightly over to the left. Okay, Daniel, stand up, mate. It's not of great deal of importance unless it's giving the player a problem, right? Daniel was cueing straight, but very, very slightly, on occasions, he'd go across the ball. To compensate with that, Daniel was inadvertently putting slight right-hand side on the cue ball, and then his cue action would negate that by putting left-hand side on. We're talking minor little idiosyncrasies, get the word out in a minute, idiosyncrasies in his technique. I wanted to get rid of that right-hand side so that he got more centre ball striking, which would be no good unless I cued it going across the ball. So I had to be very careful. So progressively, if you get down again now, Daniel, for me. Here, Daniel has virtually straightened this arm up now, which is lovely. And we've gone to centre ball striking. Okay, backwards and forwards, please, Daniel. Lovely. Okay, you can stand up for me. Right, what the point I want to make here, right, is there's never one problem. There's always a minimum of two. Daniel's slight problem was the elbow was in. That caused him to go across the ball very slightly. He corrected it by hitting the ball on the right. That, to me, is a little bit of guesswork, so I wanted to eliminate that. And the way we worked on this, I want to demonstrate this. Can you get down again for me, Daniel?
Yeah.
Now, Daniel is like any other good player, uses the chest to support the cue. Just go backwards and forwards. There. Now, the chest, I've emphasised this in other videos. The chest is your friend. You should use your chest. This distance between the hand and the chest, when it goes forward, becomes the follow-through. Okay, very important. Your chest is your friend, but if it's hiding a flaw, which is quite able to do, it can hide flaws. What I like to do is take the chest away from the situation, right? And then see if it can cue in a straight line without the aid of the chest, all right? So if you can move the chest that way, upwards, please, Daniel. Now, notice I said upwards with his body rather than sideways, because if he moves sideways, he's altering his body position too much. All I want him to do is lift his body up so that he can't support the cue. Now cue long and smooth without the aid of the chest. And he will be grooving those muscles in the correct manner, long and slow. Now, Daniel has worked very hard at this, and I mean hard, to the point where his muscles start to ache. That's telling me that the muscles are working in a slightly different way, but so long as it's correct, that's what I'm happy about. Have a breather, Daniel.
Thank you.
One of the points I want to get across here when we talk about cueing on and off the chest, I want to make sure you understand what I'm on about. I am not, and I'll repeat that, not encouraging you to play with the cue without the support of the chest. I don't want you to do that. The cue should be resting against the chest as you play the shot. It may, as you go through, some people release the grip at the front and go past the chest. All that is fine, but you should be using the chest as a support. What I am trying to get through is that the chest can hide a flaw in your cueing. There's no doubt about that, it can, right? So what I'm asking you to do is take the situation, this situation where you can take the chest away and don't move laterally. That will harm your cueing. From there, upwards, and only slightly, so you're not supporting the cue with the chest. And from there, you can groove those muscles. And you'll see that I've put the two chalks down here as a guide, and you can actually watch that the cue is between the two chalks. Now, Daniel does it a lot better than I do. So here we go. On the chest to start with, please, Daniel.
Yep.
Yeah. He's on the baulk line at the front, between the chalk here. So just go backwards and forwards using the chest. Make sure you're nice and comfortable with that. Now, very marginally take the chest away, please, Daniel. All right, you're not supporting the cue with the chest now. So it just lifts his body up slightly, and he's grooving these muscles in a slightly different way. Okay, now he's worked very hard at this, and it is now starting to pay benefits. Beautiful, good lad. Okay, have a breather, young man, have a breather. Good. What benefit do you think you've gained from doing that, Daniel?
Well, before I started doing it, I think it was quite evident that there was an issue with my cueing. So having taken the support away from my chest, I've made sure that my arm is always going in like basically forward motion rather than lateral.
Yeah.
So I think having worked harder, and sometimes it's in between every routine I do, like on a daily basis when practicing on my own. I've done the routine like you've asked me to, cueing along the balk line, the 2 chalks. I can see from both the front end and the back end of the cue whether I'm still straight or not because of the relation to the balk line and the 2 chalks.
Yeah.
So I think it's helped me get to a situation now where I've stopped deviating offline slightly. Or certainly as much. And they're going through in a straight line because of, like you have said, starting to groove their muscles to be used to going in a straight line as opposed to slightly offline.
Good lad, yeah. I think a couple of points need to be mentioned in here. First and foremost, if a player reaches a very high standard, which Daniel has done, and yet it's not quite high enough to get onto the main tour, lacks that little bit of consistency. Now that's the ultimate objective, to get on the main tour and then to stay on the main tour, which we hope to do, obviously. A couple of points need mentioning here. First and foremost, the player's got to accept that there is a slight problem, even if he doesn't know what it is, or indeed he doesn't know how to cure it. Then he's got to believe in the coach who's telling him that this problem exists and this is potentially a way to resolve that problem. He must believe that those 2 points. 1, he's got a problem. 2, you are possibly the man to put it right. The third one, which is most important, right? That player has got to accept that he's going to be doing something different. And whilst his level may be there, he's now going to have to go down a fraction. That level is going to go down because he's doing something different. So you come down, he's got to accept that, progressively get back up to where he was, and then hopefully go beyond that. All right? So the points are, he accepts that he's got a little bit of a problem. He believes in what he's being told. He knows that that's the right way to go. And then he's got to accept that he's going to go backwards slightly. And now he's got to put the work in it. And I mean work. It's no good playing at this game at the level out there today. You have got to work at it if you want to get to a high standard and stay at that high standard. The next thing that we're working on with Daniel is the consistency of the strike.